Lying on the beach. She was lying on the beach. It felt really calm. The sun was beaming down. It was not too hot. The weather was perfect. She was lying on her stomach. She was in paradise. Suddenly, something happened. Someone ran by. Sand was kicked on her back. She was startled. She sat up to see who kicked it. There were a lot of people around. She did not see who ran by. She felt angry. Someone had ruined her moment in the sun. She lay back down. Minutes later, someone ran by again. Sand was kicked on her back. She rose instantly. She saw a kid hiding. He was laughing. She stood up and walked towards the kid. "Were you kicking sand on my back?" she asked the kid. The kid was scared. He started crying. She felt guilty for making him cry. "Don't cry," she said. "I'm sorry," the kid said. She never came back to that beach again. Family reunion. He got off the airplane. He stepped on the ground. It was a long flight. There was a baby crying on the flight. He could not sleep. He exited the airport. He called a taxi. It drove him home. He paid the taxi driver and thanked him. He looked at his house. He was glad to be home. The lights were on inside. He saw shadows through the window. His family reunion had started. He knocked on the door. His father opened the door. "Welcome back home, Greg," he said, smiling. He went inside. He greeted everybody. He said hello to cousin Alex. He hugged and kissed his grandmother. He shook the hand of his brother-in-law. He hugged his sisters and brothers. He was overjoyed to see his mother. His mom gave him a big kiss. It was a good family reunion. He did not want to go back to California. Class time. He entered his classroom. He quickly took a seat. He was a minute late. The professor was calling names. It was his first day of college. He was sweating. He had been running around looking for his classroom. It took him some time to find the classroom. "David," the professor called. He raised his hand. He was out of breath. He took out his inhaler. He took a puff from his inhaler. It gave him breath. He took out his notebook and a pen. The professor started talking. He took notes. He always took notes in class. It was a good habit. He studied his notes after class. He was a good student. He wanted only good grades. Jane from Los Angeles. Her name was Jane. She lived in Los Angeles. She was born there. She loved Los Angeles. She went to work in downtown Los Angeles. There are many people in Los Angeles. She drove to work every day. She looked out her window. There were people walking down the street. Some were white, some were black, and others were brown. This did not matter. They were all natives of Los Angeles. She went out with friends. They went to restaurants and shows. Los Angeles has many restaurants. Her favorite were Indian restaurants. Los Angeles has many performers. She saw famous artists and bands. It was fun going out in Los Angeles. She often came back home late. She was always safe. She never spoke to strangers. She avoided walking on streets that were not safe. Jane did want to live in Los Angeles. It was her home. Making scrambled eggs. She woke up one morning and felt hungry. She did not eat anything last night. She got out of bed and walked into her kitchen. The kitchen was clean. She thought about what to eat for breakfast. She opened her refrigerator and took out a carton of eggs. She opened her cabinet and reached for a bowl. She cracked 4 eggs into the bowl. She stirred the eggs with a spoon. She turned on the stove and placed a pan on the stove. She turned the knob on the stove. The fire was lit. She grabbed a stick of butter from the fridge. She tossed the butter on the hot pan. She grabbed the bowl of eggs and threw them on the pan. She scrambled them with a spatula. The eggs cooked in minutes. They smelled delicious.